Hey guys, welcome back to today's college basketball pick video. We're going to be touching on 5 matchups today and who we like against the spread. I'll throw those matchups that I'm going to be talking about down in the video description. If you want more of this pick video content in the future, you can hit that subscribe button. Any thumbs up on the video are greatly appreciated. And if you're interested in getting our daily free pick over at our main website, you can check out stumpthespread.com, and I'll throw a link to Stump the Spread down in the video description as well if you want to check us out over there. So heading right into this video, first matchup I want to talk about is over in the Sun Belt between Texas State and Texas Arlington. These are two teams that actually split during the regular season. Texas State, arguably the best defensive team in the Sun Belt this year, and that gives the Bobcats a chance every single conference game that they play. Even though the Bobcats have been more of a work in progress on the offensive end, they bring just an intense amount of effort on the defensive side of the ball. Texas State came through for us yesterday against the spread on a day where not a lot of favorites or picks that looked good with the favorites giving the points coming through for us. But that was one situation where Texas State came in as favorites against Louisiana Monroe, and they were able to go and get the job done in that one, leading on their very strong defense, holding their opponent in the 50s for that particular win. Texas State going to have a little bit tougher time here against Texas Arlington. In their last outing, they went against the worst team in the Sun Belt, and now they're going against the best team. Texas Arlington bringing back a lot of veteran experience this year. Texas Arlington was a popular pick to win the Sun Belt this season. They lived up to those expectations. And the Mavericks, potential at-large bid if they don't win the Sun Belt tournament, although it would be somewhat of a surprise. This group is probably going to have to win their conference tournament to get into the big dance. But, you look back to Texas Arlington's non-conference, they go on the road and blow out a team like St. Mary's in a tough road environment. That's obviously one of the best resume results there for Texas Arlington. But it just shows you that come tournament time, definitely a team to look out for if they're able to make the big dance. We feel like Texas Arlington is going to go on to win this one today, but Texas State is a very defensive-oriented team that really slows things into the half court. Wouldn't be surprised to see this one finish in that 60-point range, and with that being the case, points definitely have a bit more value. Also, Texas State played Texas Arlington fairly competitively throughout the regular season, so we're going to go ahead and side with Texas State again today, getting those 8 points as the better value bet against the spread in this Sun Belt semifinal matchup. Below that, we have a matchup over in the Big Ten between Michigan and Minnesota. Michigan, coming into this tournament, they had that incident with the plane, and that really seems to galvanize this group and get them to play at a higher level. Also, just Michigan in general, it seems like, down the stretch of the regular season, they were starting to be a bit more consistent. This is a Michigan squad that, has quite a bit of veteran experience. Guys like Zach Irving and Derek Walton have definitely been around the block, and, having very experienced, savvy guards come tournament time always helps. Michigan not quite as strong down low necessarily, and that could hurt them if they go, or if they do advance rather far in the NCAA tournament and go against a team like, for instance, North Carolina or Florida State or Kentucky or some of these other teams that have very athletic or physically imposing bigs down low. That could definitely be a matchup nightmare for this Michigan squad, but it hasn't seemed to affect them all that much. In their matchups against Purdue this year. Michigan in their last outing was able to get past Purdue in overtime, and the Purdue Boilermakers definitely have strong front court play, but Michigan able to get the job done there against the top team in the Big Ten. Great win for Michigan. It'll be interesting to see how fatigue plays a factor in this one. Michigan playing in one extra game in this tournament thus far than Minnesota. The Golden Gophers yesterday had a really tough physical battle on their hands against Michigan State, and even though this is going to be the third game in 3 days for Michigan and the second game in 2 days for Minnesota, the Gophers were beaten up quite a bit yesterday in what was a very physical matchup against Michigan State, and a couple guys had some injury concerns in that one, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for the Gophers in this one. Michigan went on the road to Minnesota not all that long ago, and they took the Gophers into overtime in a game that really could have gone either way. With how well Michigan has been playing in this tournament, and they do almost feel like the team of destiny right now in the Big Ten tournament, we are going to go ahead and side with the Wolverines today, and hope they don't do that thing where we've gone against Michigan in the first 2 rounds of this tournament, and now we're finally siding with them and giving them the confidence in this one. So we hope they don't burn us. We've actually had a issue with Michigan this year. It just seems like a number of times either, we finally get to the point where we don't have any confidence in them anymore, and so we pick against them, and they end up showing really strong results. And then on the flip side of that, we get to the point where we don't have confidence in them, and they come through, and vice versa. And it's just been a situation with Michigan, it seems, more than just about any other team in college basketball this year. But we are going to go ahead, hold our breaths, and take the Wolverines, giving the points in this one as the better bet against the spread. All right, moving on down here, we have a matchup between Alabama and Kentucky. It's been really a great head coaching job from Avery Johnson to get this Alabama squad to show improvement throughout the regular season. And even though Alabama can be very challenged on the offensive end on definitely a consistent basis, they bring the defensive intensity to really compete with most squads in the SEC, and that allowed Alabama to finish above 500 in the SEC this season. And although it would be a surprise if Alabama won the SEC tournament, but if they do fall and don't get that automatic bid, this is definitely a team that's going to be, headed to the NIT, which isn't all that bad of a result for this group. Coming into the year, that was probably a realistic goal for Alabama to try to make a run to the NIT and get some more postseason experience for this group that's trying to continue to develop under head coach Avery Johnson. And really, getting Avery Johnson as the head coach at Alabama is just a great get for them. He brings instant credibility to this Alabama basketball program. It'll be interesting to see where the Tide are able to go in the coming years under Johnson. Coming to this matchup, Alabama, it's going to be a really tough one here against Kentucky. The Kentucky Wildcats, at times during SEC play looked less than engaged than we've seen them maybe in some of their other matchups and more earlier on in the year. Kentucky's slowed down a bit in terms of their offensive production, but when this group is able to get out and, they really have a mission to go out there and play fast and get up and down, they can beat just about anyone in the nation. Probably they can beat anyone in the nation, even though Kentucky did come up short in some of their tougher matchups back during the regular season. Kentucky's still playing for seeding right now, and that's really important for this group. If they are able to go on and win the SEC postseason tournament, then they might be able to move up a line or two than if they would, for instance, lose this particular matchup against Alabama. Not seeing that happening. Alabama, much lower ceiling on the offensive side of the ball than this Kentucky squad. Even though Alabama might be a tick better defensively, we're going to go ahead and side with the potential that this Kentucky offense brings to the table as they go on to win and cover this spread. All right, just a couple more matchups that I want to touch on in today's video. And just a side note, I'm really annoyed that the odds makers do not do a better job of getting the spreads out to all these games. Maybe they've gotten the spreads out to about a third of them. I don't know, maybe they had out of the office early and are not able to get to the rest of these spreads, but it is a little bit annoying that they aren't releasing a lot of these spreads until later on in the morning, especially since I usually make these videos between about midnight and 2 o'clock a.m. So just got to pick the games that we're given here. So go ahead and into this matchup, we have UCF and SMU. This should be a pretty, defensive-heavy battle here. Central Florida, they've built all of their success this year on the defensive side of the ball. Definitely not a team that has showed all that well on the offensive side of the ball at times, but more recently, UCF has been picking up things a bit on the offensive end, which is definitely encouraging. Central Florida has been ranked in the top 5 in the nation in defense all season, but part of that also has to do with the fact that this group plays very slow in the half court. They have that 7'5" center who can't really get up and down the court all that fast. So UCF very methodical on both ends of the court, which tends to, finish things in that 50 to 60 point range in UCF games. UCF, back during the regular season, they did have a home game against SMU, and they were fairly competitive in that one, but they did fall by 5 points on their home court. Will be a little bit different here on the neutral site. SMU been having a tremendous amount of success this season. This group has not won in a couple of months now, and even though SMU might not be the deepest team by any means, if they're able to stay healthy and out of foul trouble, certainly a squad coming out of the AAC that could make a run in the big dance. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of seeding Southern Methodist gets. It's one of those interesting situations where you have a team that's had a lot of success this year and racked up a lot of wins, but since they play in a league like the AAC, which isn't valued quite as much as some of the other bigger conferences, That can definitely affect SMU's seeding. So this group definitely, you would think, worst case scenario, maybe a 5 seed, especially if they're able to win the AAC tournament. But I feel this group has an even higher seed than that, maybe get a 4 seed, or best case scenario, a 3 seed. Coming here today against Central Florida, likely to be a defensive battle, which means that covering a spread of this magnitude can be a little bit tricky. And also, this game is going to mean more to Central Florida, given the fact that SMU already knows they're in the NCAA tournament, while UCF is battling for their tournament lives. If UCF isn't able to win the automatic bid out of the AAC, then they're probably going to be destined for the NIT. Even with this probably being a lower scoring game, we do feel like Southern Methodist giving the 8.5 points here is going to be the better value bet against the spread, just given the immense advantage that SMU has on the offensive side of the ball. So that's going to be our play for this one as the better bet against the spread. And just one more game I want to touch on in today's video, and that's going to be a matchup over in the American East between Albany and Vermont. A game that we're going to get before noon here, so definitely going to be watching this one to see how this one shakes out. Albany been better down the stretch and over the past month, but Vermont has been solid throughout the entire regular season, especially in conference play. Vermont has yet to fall. It would be really disappointing if Vermont wasn't able to get the automatic bid out of the American East, just given that they are clearly the best team in the conference this season, and they've been proving that throughout the regular season. Vermont went 2-0 against Albany during the regular season. Each game somewhat competitive, but Vermont definitely pulling away in each situation and getting the win by double figures. Albany, in their last outing, it was not pretty on the road against Stony Brook. It was a defensive matchup where Albany had a tough time finding consistent offense, but fortunately for the Great Danes, their opposition, the Seawolves in that one, just were not hitting anything on the offensive side of the ball. Going to be a tougher matchup here, and Albany is definitely going to need to have a lot better production on the offensive end if they're going to have any shot at winning this one in upset fashion. We feel like Vermont, especially with how they've been looking in this tournament, just running through their opposition, winning by 20, 30, 40 points a game. It's just been really impressive what we've been seeing out of the Catamounts. So with the home court advantage today, we're going to go ahead and side with Vermont, giving the 9 to 9.5 points and even 10 points at some books in this situation as the better bet against the spread, just given how dominant they've been as of late. All right, guys, those are the 5 games I want to touch on in today's video. Thanks for stopping on in. Again, you can head on over to our main website, stumpthespread.com, to get our daily free pick over there. And for more of this pick video content in the future, you can click that subscribe button. So thanks for stopping on in, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.